this is probably the largest population of dove I've ever seen in my life. I really think I could limit out from my front deck drinking coffee if I wanted to. But the typical hunts we do is a couple upland, a couple grouse, and then some waterfowls, and then spring turkey also. We have a pretty good turkey population, and so we typically host a couple different hunters for spring turkey as well.
Welcome to the LandTrust Podcast, where land, technology, and the outdoors meet. Whether you're a landowner, an outdoor enthusiast, or someone curious about the future of recreation on private land, you're in the right place. Each episode, we share real stories from the LandTrust community, from unforgettable guest experiences to conversations with landowners about their land and why they choose to share it, plus interviews with leaders shaping how we all experience the outdoors. And now, here's your host, Nick DeCastro.
Welcome to the LandTrust Podcast, where land, technology, and the outdoors come together. This episode is part of our season host series, where we highlight landowners who've hosted many memorable experiences through LandTrust. Today's guest is Luke Kovarik, a cattleman, father, and co-owner of Kovarik Cattle Co., a first-generation ranching operation set in the heart of the Nebraska Sandhills, just outside of Ord. On their 2,000-acre property, Luke and his wife Natalie are raising cattle while also stewarding a landscape that supports deer, waterfowl, upland birds, and more, offering guests a true taste in Nebraska's diverse outdoor experiences. With a background in ruminant nutrition and a strong focus on data-driven decision-making, Luke has built a progressive cattle program that blends tradition with innovation. From genomic testing to rotational grazing to habitat management, his approach reflects a deep respect for the land and a long view towards legacy. In the episode, we'll get into how building a ranch from the ground up, partnering with LandTrust to welcome outdoor enthusiasts, and how technology and stewardship work hand in hand on a modern working ranch. Luke, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
This one is really talking to hosts who've been around for a little bit, which you guys have, I think, been a couple of years with us. And Nebraska is a super popular state. So I'd love to kind of just get a quick little background on your operation, yourself, and how you guys found yourself there. Sure.
So, like you had mentioned in the introduction, we consider ourselves a first-generation cattle operation. But both Natalie and I have deep roots in agriculture. Both of my parents grew up on working ranches, but did not go back into agriculture for their profession. And so I grew up in town, and my uncles managed one ranch, and then my grandparents basically had gotten really old on my dad's side of the family and leased the property out. So I grew up around agriculture, but my nuclear family did not derive their income from agriculture. But it was a deep passion of mine, and I had a lot of exposure to it and was involved in 4-H and all those kinds of things. And I went to University of Nebraska at Lincoln, like you had mentioned, and studied ruminant nutrition. Always wanted to return to the ranch, but there really wasn't an opportunity. And so I pursued graduate school because I thought I was going to work in the industry. And kind of at the end of graduate school, a couple different opportunities popped up. And I decided to kind of take a leap and start Kovarik Cattle Company. And it's kind of fitting that we're talking about LandTrust, because one of the main things that helped me start an operation was diversification and bringing in money from multiple avenues, multiple streams within our ag production system. And so we did everything from custom AI to background in cattle to alternate calving dates, and just different ways to channel income into the operation so that I could live. And I was a bachelor then, so my costs weren't a lot, but I could grow, I could build equity and still, do my core business. And as I have progressed and we have grown and whatnot, I'm kind of picking and choosing the areas I want to do more. I probably have less diversification and focusing on the ones that are more profitable or the most profitable. But diversification still is involved, and it was a huge key to us being able to be around for 15, 16 years. So,
first of all, I didn't know you had a graduate degree. So you're definitely smarter than I am. But yeah, I mean, diversification, as you mentioned, first generation, when you're not inheriting that ground, you got to pay for it and buy it. Like, it's just a whole nother level. And we work with the ranching for profit guys and the ranch right guys. And, I don't know if you've ever been to any of their stuff or follow them, but they're hardcore on, hey, this is a business. And, I feel like it's even more focused on when you're Gen 1, it's
Yep.
not just being passed down. Not that that's hard too. So it's really interesting to hear.
I agree that, there's some times that I've been really frustrated. Like I said, I have cousins that are on my grandpa's ranch or, different things like that. And it's just like, gosh, dang it, I didn't get any of that land base or this or that. But now we're 15 years down the road and they have inheritance issues in the state and all that stuff. And it's just like, I don't have any of that to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, you look at that. I mean, certainly it forced you as a forcing function for you to have to figure a bunch of business stuff out first. That you can kind of sweep under the rug or kick the can down the road if you didn't have to do that. So a blessing in disguise, maybe.
Yep, it is.
Awesome. Well, by the way, my wife's from Dodge City, Kansas. I met her in New York City and I was like, all right, Dodge City, we're going to have some ground. And unfortunately, wrong side of the family. So no ground, but no ground. All right. Well, hey, tell us a little bit about tell us about the ground you got. Like, what's your land like? What's the mix? You're in the Sandhills, right? So I've been out there.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
We have a very diverse ground. We have Sandhills ground. We also, which is a warm season native prairie. Then we transition to what we would call hard ground, which would have more of a clay or a heavier soil mixture, and they border each other. I mean, it's just kind of a transition line, but it happens pretty quickly. And that is also a warm season native prairie, but much more rugged. And then there's some more cool season grasses there. And then you only come another mile south, like to the headquarters, and we would have a live creek with some timber. And then another mile south would be the actual river and some cropland and cornfields. So, within a 4 or 5 mile stretch, we basically go from Sandhills to hard ground to covered timber to flowing river and
Wow.
cropland. And, a lot of areas in Nebraska are similar to that. A lot of areas in Nebraska have that. And I think that's what makes it such an outdoor treasure.
Yeah, great for grazing and also great for wildlife. I mean, I feel like if it's good for grazing, it's good for wildlife, basically.
Yep. And we, the diversity that we have from an agriculture standpoint and from a wildlife standpoint makes us very balanced. And we have plenty of crop production. We have plenty of winter feed for the cattle, but we have plenty of rangeland and plenty of summer grass available. So you get in some areas, more in the Platte Valley, perhaps more crop intense, and then to the dead center of the Sandhills, and feed might be more difficult. So we're very balanced. It's very diverse, and just kind of a unique place to live. When people do visit, they say, "I never thought Central Nebraska looked like this." It's not what we had imagined at all. And so it's a fun thing to host and show people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I did I remember coming to the Sandhills the first time, and I went to Valentine. I met with a couple families. We had zero properties in Nebraska. I don't know, 5 years ago, something like that. And went into the little steakhouse there, had dinner with like two or three families. Do you know the Abbotts, by the way?
Yes, I know of them. Yep. I've met the one boy, AJ, but
AJ and Chris is the dad, and they were really gracious to me, and I got introduced through a friend, and they kind of set up a dinner with us. And but I remember I came back down and hunted ducks on the Abbott Ranch, and I don't know, the Sandhills is like nothing. I've been all over the country. There's nothing else like it. You just go these rolling hills. And then from a waterfowl perspective, I remember going out the first morning, and I'm with like members of the DU board, like Ducks Unlimited board, right? These guys are going to waterfowl lodges in Arkansas. It's very different, right? We're out on the 50,000 acre, Sandhills Ranch. And Chris just says, like, just walk out there. I'm like, where? It's just flat. And he's like, just walk out there. And, we walk up and you get 30 yards away from like the marsh, and all of a sudden 600 teal get up. Yeah. And it's just, I don't know, the water table is so shallow, and there's just, it's totally unique. I highly, highly, highly recommend everyone go out to the Sandhills, because it's not what you think it is.
No. And it's like you said, there's no other landscape that's similar to that. I
No.
mean, and our property is different than that, but unique in its own way, where you really don't see it other places as well.
Yeah. Very cool environment to go out, and especially for hunters and fishermen. People love the outdoors. I highly recommend going and checking it out. So I'd be curious, when, I forget, it's been a couple of years, but I guess, why did you decide to list on LandTrust? And you kind of touch on diversification and, because other landowners listen to this. So it's like, hey, you're from the horse's mouth. Like, why'd you consider it?
Yeah. Obviously so the income stream is kind of the elephant in the room, right? It's a great way to, add some income without any overhead, without any other work. And then I enjoy hunting. I enjoy the outdoors. We have sons, they enjoy hunting. So I like sharing that with people. We have enough property that we don't need it all.
Right.
LandTrust has the flexibility of picking and choosing, when dates are available, when dates aren't available. If I want to, hold a certain area of the ranch for my son to deer hunt, I can, and I can still let other people hunt a different area, or all of those, of those flexible things that LandTrust has built into it. I didn't want a guiding service. I didn't want the pressure of producing, of having, someone else
Expectations.
success, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But giving people access to private land is a great thing. So I just felt like LandTrust really hit a niche that was needed, and it's easy for the landowner, but it's a great opportunity for the customer.
Yeah. It's funny, when we tried a bunch of different types of landowners as I was getting it going. And then we found owner operator producers, and it was like perfect, right? Because like you said, a lot of our farmers and ranchers, whether it's them or their kids or their neighbors or their family members, they like to hunt. Someone likes to hunt.
Yeah.
And so, prior to us, it was basically like, hey, if we want to make money from this thing, we got to lease it out to either individuals or outfitters, or we don't really make any money from it, right? So we came in as the transaction size was the wrong size, right? Like, so,
Yep.
I think it really resonated with the owner operators, especially. So it's all about control, and it's good to hear that. So you guys have hosted some folks out there over the years. Any kind of memorable things, anything you enjoy that you didn't, expect to enjoy from hosting people on your place?
I'm a extrovert. I love meeting people. So all of that's been great for me. I would say over half of the time we end up at the end of their hunt going out for a steak and enjoying a meal together. So just the relationships that I've got, just getting to know people, where they're from. We've had people from Pennsylvania to Utah to somewhat local, all over the place. And I just have really enjoyed meeting those people and showing them our part of Nebraska.
Yeah, it's funny, Luke. We all know them. There's some crusty old ranchers out there, and they're in very rural places, and I think a lot of the folks who might be you're younger, you're probably around my age, but I think what surprised a lot of our landowners who've hosted with us is how much they enjoyed that intrinsic aspect of, like, yeah, it's good to make the money, of course, but they really enjoyed, actually, exactly what you said, meeting people from all over the place who really appreciate the access to their land and what, the experiences that they're getting. And hey, for a lot of people who live really rural, like some of those Sandhills properties are, you're 2 hours away from a 30-person town. And so that interaction with people is kind of gratifying. And again, when I go out to places, especially if it's a multi-generation operation, they've literally lived and worked there their entire lives. It is every day to them. But then you have someone like me come out, I've never seen it. It's like, holy cow, this place is incredible. And I think it's cool for those landowners to be able to appreciate their land anew, almost through other people's eyes.
Yeah, I enjoy sharing.
Yeah.
And when you get to share it, and that's fun.
Yeah. Well, that's great, man. So you talk about vision, your parents grew up, ranching, but didn't continue with your operation, your first gen. Do you have the next gen coming? Is that the goal? Like, what do you want Kovarik to be in a generation or two.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely do. And my wife, she'll say, um, you don't really want to force a kid into a certain,
Yeah.
occupation or push them a certain way. Just kind of let them find their way, and then every time I get a chance, I just say, "You're going to come back and help me, right?" So I'm very forward and blunt about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't think of, that to me that would be very rewarding and something I would like to do, but. Yeah, you don't know how that'll go or which way that'll go, but we definitely spend a lot of time with our kids. Our kids spend a lot of time on the ranch. I really try to slow down and make it so we can accomplish something that day. But a 7-year-old and a 4.5-year-old,
Yeah.
and I mentioned 4.5-year-old because he's very aware that he's 4.5, and he lets you know that he's 4.5.
I'm not
But
4.5.
yeah, 4.5. It's a big difference, right? But they got to have fun, and so when we work cattle or we do whatever with them, it goes slower. But I want them at the end of the day to feel like they helped, and it was a good day, and they enjoyed it. And I can remember, just when I was growing up, if my dad did have some cows on the side, we were doing it on the weekends or the nights, and it was
A
high
grind.
stress in the facilities, and it
Yeah.
just wasn't fun, and I don't want that that for them. So
Well, I grew up bird hunting with bird dogs, and it's kind of like training bird dogs, right? You when they're puppies, you make it fun, and you end on a good note, and it's
yeah,
always fun, and they're always excited, and you leave them wanting a little bit more. You don't want to grind them down when they're puppies, or else you can kind of, it doesn't
yeah,
go
you
well.
shoot it
So
forever. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Um, well, that's great, man. One of the things that kind of stood out too, and obviously Natalie's built herself up a big audience and being an advocate for agriculture. Obviously we're building a for-profit business here. We want to make money. We want you guys to make money. We're business partners effectively. And so, that's what we focus on every day is making sure we have a great product, that we attract customers, and that we grow this business as big as we can get it and maintaining everything we do. But from an ethos perspective, it's just crazy. Over 6 years and thousands of trips that we facilitated, one of the things that really stands out, because we read all the reviews, right? And the reviews just really it doesn't matter what they booked for. You always end up reading, they'll write like a paragraph about how cool it was to meet the hosts, the landowners, and hear the stories and all that kind of interaction. And to me, you know, if we can leave our mark, in addition to obviously building a great business, would be just reconnecting non-producers. I'm not a producer. I don't come from agriculture, with the 1%, 1 or 2% of the country that actually are producers, who are producing all our food, fuel, and fiber. And, your wife has done a great job building up, kind of being an advocate on social and all this stuff and conferences. But I think that one-to-one connectivity too, it's like, people coming out to your place, the only reason they're booking it and coming out is because you have great ground and you steward it, right? So they're coming out there from the fruits of your labor. But then just meeting you and understanding how operations work, to me, there's no better defense against the bullshit that is spewed about agriculture, in popular media or whatever, than literally direct connection. Like, you have to have the people like your wife who have a big platform and can talk about it on social all the time. But then that one-to-one, I feel like, is just like the best.
I completely agree, and I think it's better than it was 5 years ago. From a cattle rancher standpoint, Beyond Meat, which I think is going bankrupt today or
Yes.
yesterday or
Hallelujah.
something, which is like so awesome.
Yeah,
But
it's the best.
it was just like literally don't need rural America. We can produce it all, and to the point now where like people are crazy over bovine colostrum and beef tallow and
Oh,
all
man.
of this stuff. And it is rewarding. It is exciting, and I think maybe it was a little bit of like a COVID hangover too, of just like we really lost what is important, and people are itching, or people do have a desire to get back to just things that are real and raw and natural,
Yeah.
and I see it a lot, and we're happy to host, we're happy to show, happy to entertain and be involved, and Natalie, like you said, has done a lot of work there, and actually, it's kind of funny. I got little boys, we got back into like an old, like Dirty Jobs, like the old episodes
Oh,
of
the
Dirty
best.
Jobs.
Yes.
If that stuff aired today, I don't know if it would even, or if it would have aired 2 years ago, I don't even know
Yeah.
if it would have been accepted. And
No.
it's just all been kind of a whole 180, I feel like. But the other thing I'll comment on that is I feel like the commercialized hunts are not as sought after as before, and like the Grand Lodges and the guide. I think
Yeah.
people want their own experience more, and I think that fits with what we're doing versus some of those others.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. I built it because I wanted to use it, right? And nothing against guides. Hey, look, if I go to a new place for some new thing, yeah, guides great. I've never done this before, and that's awesome. But generally speaking, like, I just want to like just say yes. Hey,
Yeah.
Luke, can I come down and hunt mule deer? Yes, and I'll give you some money, and I'll handle it. And if you
Yeah.
want to point me in the right direction, cool. But yeah, I want to figure it out myself. And if I strike out, that's on me. Like I like the DIY aspect of it, so that's why I built it this way. And I agree. I think there's always going to be a market. It's just like Airbnb. Airbnb didn't kill hotels. It's a different thing, and I use both. When I go on business trips by myself, I stay at a hotel. I want to have the gym in there and I want to have a restaurant. And when I travel with my 3 kids, I want to have a house because I want to cook food. I don't want to spend $1 million on all that stuff. So different use cases. It is interesting though. I definitely think there has been a vibe shift. The podcast I listen to, every single freaking podcast has like a ad for some ranch and beef, so it's like it really has shifted from 5 years ago. It was pretty bleak there.
Cows are cool now.
Cows are cool, and we need to keep.
I'm cool.
They've always
Who
been
would've
cool.
thought? Yeah, who would have thought I'm cool?
They've always been cool, but people are realizing it again. How are things looking on the ranch this year? You guys are offering deer hunts for mule deer and whitetail. You're offering waterfowl. What else? Upland.
There'll be some upland, yeah, and then dove. Our dove hunting is goofy.
Really, it's good.
Oh, this is probably the largest population of dove I've ever seen in my life. I really think I could limit out from my front deck drinking coffee if I wanted to. But yeah, so no, those the typical hunts we typically do is a couple upland, couple grouse, and then some waterfowls, and then spring turkey. Also, we have a pretty good turkey population, and so we typically host a couple different hunters for spring turkey as well.
So you've had some good water, you were saying. So things should be pretty good this year.
Things should be good, really good. Yep.
Good. Well, that's awesome. I guess as a parting thought, anything you'd say to other landowners considering who've been kind of thinking about us? It's funny, man. I've met ranchers 5-6 years ago when I first started this business, and we'll see them like finally list and be like, yeah, I talked to Nick, thousands of conversations ago. I'm like, wow, 6 years later, here we are. But sometimes it takes a little bit of time.
I would just say that, from a landowner who's kind of on the fence is just, it doesn't cost anything to start the profile, and you have ultimate flexibility. So, just kind of turn it over to LandTrust, see what they build for you as far as your ranch site, and try a few people, try a few hunts when you want to do it. And if you don't like it, then you can just step away. And if you do, or you enjoy meeting the people or the extra cash or whatnot, then just schedule it so it fits you. And it's pretty simple,
Who runs it more, by the way? It's always an interesting question. So do you handle it or does Natalie handle it?
I handle it. Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. Natalie, as it's funny, as much as she is in front of people and as much talking as she does and speaking and interviews and podcasts, someone pulls in the yard, and she ducks in the back room and says, go, someone's out there, go check it out, so
you're the extrovert.
When someone we don't know is coming to hunt, I'm definitely the one that meets them, and usually the only one that goes to supper with them too.
Well, that's great, man. Well, hey, look, I want to say genuinely, I appreciate you guys being a partner of ours. We are nothing without our landowners. So, our landowners are our partners. Our mutual customers are the guests who come out. So I'm grateful for it. Thank you. And we're looking forward to getting more people out. Appreciate you. And thanks for coming on.
Yep. You're welcome. I enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, that was Luke Kovarik from Kovarik Cattle Co. We really appreciate him coming on and spending some time with us. Obviously, as you guys know, farmers and ranchers are busy folks. So carving a half an hour out for us is much appreciated. He and his wife, Natalie, have been great hosts for the past couple of years. And, if you haven't followed Natalie, you should. She's a great advocate for agriculture, as we talked about in this podcast. They have the Discover Ag podcast, which she does with her partner, Tara. And then she has her own kind of Instagram social channel you can follow as well. If you're interested in going out to Kovarik Cattle Co. after listening to that conversation, whether you're looking to get out and hunt or, book something else out there, you can go to LandTrust.com and search Kovarik. That's Kovarik cattle on LandTrust.com, and we'll put the link to the listing and the different packages in the show notes. Get out there. Sounds like dove hunting is going to be lights out, and they're in such a great area, great waterfowl hunting, great deer hunting, and it sounds like turkey hunting will be very good out there as well. Also, if you're a landowner who's thinking about listing your land on LandTrust, why haven't you? It's easy to get started. As Luke said in that, it is free, so we don't charge you. You're not our customer. You are our partner. So we only make money when you do. We make a percentage, a commission, if you will, on bookings and transactions. So it's totally free to get started. If you want to learn more about it, you can go to landtrust.com/landowners. And we've got videos and testimonials and FAQs, all that good stuff of other landowners, just like Luke, who's been with us for many years. And you can hear from the horse's mouth, so to speak. Or you can call or text our team at 406-709-8450. So if you got some windshield time, you're in a tractor, whatever, just give us a call or shoot us a text. We're really happy to talk to you. Our team talks to landowners all day, just like you. Again, we're not selling you anything. We just happy to answer questions. And if it sounds good, we will build your listing for you and get you live. It'll be painless. So again, that number is 406-709-8450. Please do be sure to like, subscribe, share the episode with your friends, family, anyone who loves the outdoors, or if you're a landowner who might be interested in learning about LandTrust, we'd really appreciate that. All right, folks, that's a wrap. Thanks for listening. And don't forget, if you're looking for your next great outdoor experience, you know where to find it, landtrust.com. See you next time.